Mr. Buffett, you claim you can do 50% a year. If you had to start over with a small portfolio, would you still be doing buy and hold, buying quality companies at a good price? Or would you be doing arbitrage and really getting down to the nitty-gritty Benjamin Graham cigar butts that you did in the Buffett partnership?
Yeah, if I were working with a very small sum, and you should all hope I'm not, if I were working with a very small sum, I would be doing almost entirely different things than I do. I mean, your universe expands. I mean, if you're looking, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of times as many of options to think about if you're investing $10,000 than if you're investing $100 billion. And obviously, if you have that many, you got all the options you got with $100 billion, except buying entire businesses, and you've got all of these other options. So you can earn very high returns with very small amounts of money, and it will always be such. I don't mean that everybody can do it, but if you know something about values and investments, you will find opportunities with small sums, and it will not be with the portfolio that Berkshire itself owns. We cannot earn phenomenal returns putting $3 billion, $4 billion, $5 billion in a stock. It won't work that way. It won't even come close to working that way. But if Charlie or I were in a position of working with $1 million or $500,000 or $2 million, we would find little things here and there, and it wouldn't always be stocks, where we would earn very high returns on capital. Charlie?
Yeah, but there's no point our thinking about that now.
But he's thinking about it, Charlie. If I were managing a very large endowment fund, for one thing, it would either be 100% in stocks or 100% in long bonds or 100% in short-term bonds. I mean, I don't believe in layering things and saying I'm going to have 60% of this and 30% of that. Why do I have the 30% if I think the 60% makes more sense? So, and if you told me I had to invest a fund for 20 years and I had a choice between buying the index, the 500, or a 20-year bond, I would buy stocks. That doesn't mean they won't go down a lot, but I would rather have an equity investment. I wouldn't rather have an equity investment where I paid a ton of money to somebody else that took my stock return down dramatically. But simply buying an index fund for 20 years of equities or buying a 20-year bond, it would not be a close decision with me. I would buy the equities. I'd rather buy them cheaper, but I'd rather buy the bond with a bigger yield too. But in terms of what's offered to me today, that's the way I would come down. Charlie?
Yeah, I don't think that was the answer that was expected, but that's the answer.
That doesn't have a thing to do with where we think stocks, or we don't think at all, but where stocks could be or bonds could be. We don't have the faintest idea where the S&P will be in 3 years or where the long-term bond will be in 3 years. But we do know which we would rather own on a 20-year basis.
We'd also expect that the current scene will cause some real disruption.
Yeah, but
not too many years ahead.
That's true, but if you go back 100 years, you can almost say that, at almost any period, and you will get disruptions from time to time. And it's very nice if you have a lot of cash then, and you have the guts to do something with it. But predicting them or waiting around for them, that sort of thing, is not our game. And I mean, we bought $5 billion worth of equities in the first quarter, something like that. And, we don't think they're anything like, well, they're not, it'd be a joke to even compare them to 1974 or a whole bunch of other periods. But we decided we would rather have them than cash, or we would rather have them than sit around and hope that things get a lot cheaper. We don't spend a lot of time doing that. You can freeze yourself out indefinitely. So anytime we find something what we think is intelligent to do, we just do it. And we hope we can do it big. Number 7.
My name is Nathan Narousis from Vancouver, Canada. Mr. Buffett, Mr. Munger, my question concerns your previous silver bullion investment. I'm curious to hear more about why you sold when you did. More specifically, whether you sold your bullion to the organizers of the Silver Exchange Traded Fund in return for cash plus perhaps important non-cash consideration in order to keep silver markets from either rising or falling sharply. Thank you very much for anything you would care to share with us.
I'm not sure who we sold it to, but whoever we sold it to was a lot smarter than I was. I bought it too early. I sold it too early. Other than that, it was a perfect trade. Couldn't have done. Charlie, do you have anything to add? Charlie had nothing to do with the silver decision, so that one falls entirely on me.
I think we've demonstrated how much we know about silver.
The very fact you ask us a question on silver flatters us because nobody asks us about silver anymore. But we'll come up with something else at some point. The last part of your question, there was a small implication, I think, of perhaps a silver conspiracy or as soon as we started, it got known that we bought silver, we started getting all these letters in the mail from people who had all these different theories about the fact that hedging was killing things or these kind of traders were doing something. In the end, silver responds to supply and demand, just like oil supply responds to supply and demand. The price of oil at $60 or $65 is not a product of a bunch of oil executives conspiring or anything of the sort. It's supply and demand on a huge commodity. Silver is a small commodity, but on any kind of commodity like that, supply and demand is what determines prices over time. Although the Hunt brothers, I must admit, for a short period there, in a few years, managed to change the equation, and they forever wished they hadn't. Number 8.
Charlie, you were quoted in Poor Charlie's Almanac as saying, quote, Ben Franklin was a very good ambassador, and whatever was wrong with him from John Adams' point of view probably helped him with the French, end quote. If you are willing, I am curious to hear your additional thoughts regarding John Adams and his wife, Abigail Adams.
Well, of course, they were wonderful people, both of them. And
did you know them personally, Charlie?
No. But if you wanted to have a really jolly evening, I would take Franklin every time. And the French loved Franklin. I think I remind many people too much of John Adams and too little of Ben Franklin.
He does pretty well in respect to Ben Franklin, too. Let's go to number 7.